All right, boys, get ready to test penetration. Get ready to do a penetration test between a small diameter arrow and a larger diameter arrow that's heavier. So we're going to test if small diameter shaft really is that to test if a small diameter shaft is really more important than a heavier shaft. In other words, is shaft diameter more important than mass? So before we do that, we're going to look at the broadheads we're going to be using in our penetration test. They will all be the same broadhead. It's the Bear Razorhead single bevel, right bevel. And it has a 100 grain insert, steel insert, into the glue-on point that is 150 grains, equaling 250 grains. Each one of these should be 250 grains. Let's weigh them up here. 248, so we're 2 grains shy on that one. 250 exactly. 250 exactly. 250 exactly. Okay. Now, each one of these broadheads we'll be shooting 4 shafts. So one of these will go to a 4mm arrow, and the other 3 will go to the same 150 spine. It's a 5mm arrow, but because it's 150 spine, the outer diameter is quite a bit bigger. It's 0.307. And the outer diameter of the 4mm is like 0.25, 0.24. So it's quite a bit smaller. So for our 4mm contestant will be the Black Eagle X Impact 250 spine with the focus insert outsert. Okay. So let's weigh this shaft up and see what we're looking at as far as pure shaft weight here. So for this one, we're looking at 362 grains for the X Impact shaft, bear shaft, without broadhead. Now let's do it with the broadhead here. So with the broadhead, we're looking at 614 grains with a 250 grain broadhead. Single bevel Bear Razorhead, 614 grain arrow. 4 mil is 614 grains. Okay. All right, next runner up. This is our lighter Black Eagle Rampage 150 spine. And obviously that's upside down. And this is 5mm, but the outer diameter is going to be closer to 307. So let's weigh our Black Eagle Rampage bear shaft, no added insert weights and no tip point. And we are looking at, wow, 614 grains, just bare shaft. I suppose. 616 grains. So this weighs as much as the 4mm shaft. It'll be interesting to see just without the point. So if we put the point in, field point in, or we got a broadhead in, same broadhead, and we are looking at 862 grains. Okay. So the first 5mm that we're going to try is 862 grains. So we have the next two. All right, next 5mm shaft, same arrow. It's the Black Eagle Rampage, 150 spine, 5mm inside diameter, 0.307 outside diameter. And we're looking at 1,516 grains without the broadhead. So that is quite a bit heavier, just bare shaft. We have, I think, about 12 brass, 75 grain brass inserts, about up to here or so, giving us a pretty good FOC on this one. I think it's over 20%. So let's put that broadhead on. The broadhead on this one, and our total weight will be 1,764. Let's see. I'm sure that's right here. Yeah, 1,764 grains. Our last contender is quite a bit heavier. Same arrow, 5mm, Black Eagle, Rampage, 150 spine. And we are looking at quite a few inserts on this one. Almost the whole shaft is full of 75 grain brass inserts. FOC is not very high. And 2,408 grains for the total arrow weight. Let's put the broadhead on. All right, same broadhead, 250 grains, bare razor head, single bevel. 2,658 grains. Okay. So we have 1,764 for the second 5mm and 2,658 for the third 5mm. Let's take these to the field and try them out. We're going to see how much weight it actually takes to penetrate better than a smaller diameter shaft. Can the first 5mm with just 806, same weight without the broadhead for that 5mm, if we add the broadhead, we're at 862. Let's see if that's 250 grains is all we need to outpenetrate a smaller diameter. And if not, we'll see how much more weight we'll need to outpenetrate that smaller diameter. A lot of water jugs for these penetration tests. We want a nice, even, medium that's not foam or gel. All right, guys, we're going to do another penetration test today with a pretty even test medium. We're doing water jugs. We'll have 10 water jugs for each arrow that we test. We're going to test different penetration levels. We're going to be doing that with largely between a 4mm shaft arrow that's lighter versus 5mm shafts that are heavier. So we're going to have 3 5mm shafts and 1 4mm shaft. We're doing it out of the PSE OMEN today, my new bow. Set at 80-pound draw, which is actually coming in a little lighter, 76 pounds. The draw length is 31.5 roughly, and the brace height is about 5.5, which gives us about a 26-inch power stroke. So if you follow me over to the arrow table here, we'll get our lineups. So coming in first, this will be our first tester up to bat, is the 4mm X Impact Black Eagle 250 spine. It's coming in at 614 grains, and we have the same broadhead for every shaft. This is the bare razor head 250 grain single bevel broadhead. So the only difference, same bow, same broadhead, the only difference we have here is arrow weight and diameter. 4mm arrow, 5mm arrows. But because these three, the 5mm arrows, these are the Black Eagle Rampages, they're the 150 spines, so they're super stiff, but they have a thicker wall, so the outer diameter is around 0.307 inches, as opposed to the 4mm outer diameter is about 0.24, I believe, inches. And the inner diameter for the X Impact 4mm is obviously 0.166 inches, and the inner diameter for the 3 Black Eagle Rampages is 0.204. So Black Eagle X Impact is 614 grains. Our lightest Black Eagle Rampage is coming at 862 grains. So about 250 grains between these two. We'll see how the penetration lines up with a smaller shaft versus a larger shaft with 250 grains heavier. And then the next one is 1,764 grains, and it's more loaded on the front. The weights are more loaded in the front, which will give us more FOC. And then the last arrow that we'll shoot is 2,658 grains, and it does not have much front and center, but we'll see how much the weight actually, or how much weight we actually need to defeat this 4mm small diameter shaft. So we got 10 water jugs, 1 gallon jugs there. We'll shoot through them with the 4mm, and then they got 3 more sets of 10 we'll do for each other arrow, and we'll see who comes out on top as the better penetrator. So without further ado, let's take our 4mm. Now let's really see how well these skinny shafts penetrate. I mean, let's come over here one more time. Look at this compared to this shaft. Look, you can see how much thinner that 4mm shaft is. That should give us more sectional density, be able to penetrate. There's less surface area, so less friction going through. But it's lighter, so the heavier object's going to be harder to stop because it has more momentum. That doesn't change. Ideally, you're supposed to stand a good 20 yards back, but we just want to make sure we hit every jug, so we want to get as close as possible. So let's see how well she penetrates. Ooh, where'd it go? Ooh, we did not make it through, but it looks like it hit the ground a little bit. I don't know. She didn't make it all the way through though. That's a small diameter shaft, not making it all the way, you know, you made it all the way through, but not out the other side. So, but not bad for a small diameter. Let's put some weight behind the 5mm. Well, first of all, we'll try a regular 5mm. We'll put some weight behind them, see what the difference is. All right, so we went through, we pulled off 2, 4, 6, went through 6. And there's our arrow. So we punctured all 10 of them, that's for sure. She didn't make it out the 10th one. They got caught. Okay. Let's see if our heavier arrow can outmatch this 4mm shaft. Okay. Let's put her back to rest here. Next arrow, 862 grains. 862 grains. Remember, no weight, no extra weight components, just the 250 grain broadhead up front. Should probably put some water bottles down.
I was wondering when you were going to do that.
We'll clean those up later.
Yeah.
You know. It's that. All right. 862 grain arrow. How we do? Man, that guys, that basically out penetrated the 4mm shaft. I mean, granted, we'll be charitable, and we'll say that the table kind of helped slow down the 4mm. It's not really. It's hard to verify whether that's the case or not, because this looks like it was hitting the table too. But that's further penetration than the 4mm, and we're only 250 grains heavier. Because I'm telling you, weight is where it's at. I'm telling you. We blew through all of them, and we're out further. I mean, that's a good 7-8 inches out the 10th jug. next one. Oof. 1,764 grains. Let's see how she does. And look at the FOC on this one. I mean, she's got a lot of FOC there. Try and make this as even a comparison as possible. Same water, kind of water jugs. It's all water jugs, 1 gallon jugs. Water's an even, consistent medium. I feel like gel and foam is just not a fair comparison because it's meant to slow down shafts. So you're not really getting a fair comparison. So if I shot that 862 grain and that 4mm arrow in a foam target, chances are they'd be about the same penetration, maybe even the 4mm arrow going a little further. And we clearly saw with the water jugs that it wasn't like these water jugs were shot through before. Fresh, clean water jugs. That 250 grain heavier arrow out-penetrated the 4mm, so. Which is weird because Ashby says that shaft diameter is more important than mass. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I think mass is more of a factor contributing to penetration than shaft diameter. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 1,764 grains. Here we go. Jeez, look at that, all the way through. I'm telling you guys, the heavier arrow is where it's at. All the way through and then some. Well, I guess the foam target did stop it, but I mean, it's shot in that's an area of the target that hasn't been chewed up, so. And that's a Reinhardt target, solid, so that's 10 bottles. Clean through, and look it. I mean, it's not like we flopped out onto the ground. We went, just saying, granted this is a higher FOC arrow. Higher than the, well, it's probably comparable with the 800 grainer and the 4mm shaft. Honestly, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, let's check out the FOC real quick. We're just gonna have to guesstimate it, but yeah, that's pretty high for the 1,764 grainer. It's probably 10 inches from the tip. This is our 864 grainer. Yeah, it's gonna be a little higher, but not much than that one. And the 4mm with the focus insert outsert, ooh, this one actually probably has the highest FOC. And so far penetrated the worst. And these were all fresh broadheads out of the packet. I never use these broadheads, so they're all consistent sharpness. So that's not a factor. Okay, last arrow. 2,658 grains. Now this one does not have good FOC, so we're really going to see if it's mass that's leading the way for penetration or FOC. I mean, this is probably a 5-7% FOC, very, very minimal. But it weighs a ton. So let's go line them up. And what's interesting to note, that 1,764 grainer, that's the same arrow weight system I used a few months back when I shot out my APA King Cobra 100 pound limbs. And that was out of the PSE OMEN. And that went clear through even an extra water bottle, or an extra gallon of water. So I feel like even the speed isn't really that big of a factor. It's more about the weight, I'm telling you. The mass is where it's at. But we might see, maybe this 2,658 grainer won't penetrate as far as that 1,700 grainer. And the reason being would probably be, the only difference is the FOC. So maybe FOC is more important. In which case Ashby would be correct, because he says that's the number 3 important factor. Second to, or beneath arrow flight and structural integrity. So here's 9, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2,658 grains. See if it out penetrates the high FOC arrow. So far, as the more we bump up the weight, the more penetration we've gotten. Wow. I mean, that was clear out too. I mean, whew. Now, I'll tell you which one penetrated more. This had minimal FOC. Granted, we missed this, but let's see how far it went into this target. Okay, she's not poking out the back, but I can kind of gauge. I can tell it went in further than that 1,764 grainer. It just, there's less arrow sticking out. We can compare later when we run the tape back, but let's see. Oh yeah, that was way deeper, guys. Jeez. I mean, we didn't deviate from the path, and then that just smoked. Guys, I'm telling you, don't listen to them out there. They're not telling the whole truth, I don't think. Arrow weight, I think, is more important than even shaft diameter. I mean, granted, if we could get the same weight, 2,658 grains, with a smaller shaft, yes, it would outpenetrate this kind of diameter shaft. But the problem is, a smaller diameter shaft just can't be as heavy. It's just plain physics. So there's something to think about when you think that smaller shaft equals better penetration. Not necessarily. Not necessarily when you start stacking those weights in there. All right, well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Look at all the water bottles we had to waste. I mean, granted, we just saved them, so it wasn't really that we lost any money on it or anything. But yeah, just stick around, guys. There will definitely be some more videos regarding speed tests and penetration. We're just testing all sorts of different arrow configurations. We'll do broadheads too, different broadheads, same arrow weights, see what the differences are between single bevel, 2-blade, 3-blade, etc., mechanical. But so be looking out for more in the future. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. It helps keep the morale up. Stay tuned for more.